On this installment of my Boston Mob series, I will be discussing the second attempt on Edward Punchy Mclaughlin's life.
Welcome back. So as I said before, this segment of my Boston Mob series is going to be about the second attempt on Edward Punchy Mclaughlin's life. So the second attempt was in 1965, basically a year after the first attempt. So this attempt was in Canton, Mass. That's about 20 minutes south of Boston. It's a suburb. Punchy was living with his girlfriend, Helen Cronus, in Canton. And he developed a routine of every morning going to get the newspaper downtown. And for somebody who's a hunted man, this is a very dangerous thing to do. But Punchy just was kind of resigned to the fact after the first attempt on his life that they were going to keep coming, and he wasn't going to hide, So basically, that morning of his shooting, he went downtown, got the newspaper, and you would think if anything was going to happen, it would happen on his daily routine where people knew what he was going to do and they were watching him. But nothing happened, so he just went about his day like it was another normal day. Around lunchtime, after he ate lunch, he was going to drive to West Roxbury and make an initial car payment on his new Oldsmobile sedan that he had just purchased. So as he's driving towards West Roxbury, he notices on a side street there's a station wagon and a couple men in it, and with a man with a walkie-talkie driving. And so this obviously is very suspicious. And then when they pulled out into traffic behind him and started following him, then he became very suspicious. So Punchy's on alert. He's already been shot at and tried to kill once. They're driving down the street, and this wagon's behind him. The guy's talking on the walkie-talkie. Meanwhile, there's a golf course on the left-hand side. They're driving along. All of a sudden, the wagon speeds up, accelerates speed, and passes Punchy on the left and pulls in front of him and keeps on speeding. Punchy's, gripping the steering wheel. He thinks that somebody inside that car is going to shoot him or something's going to happen, you know what I mean? And then, like, seconds later, all of a sudden, his windshield blows off, and his right hand is shot off the steering wheel, and his car is being peppered with bullets, and he doesn't know where they're coming from. So he's weaving in and out of traffic. It's the middle of the day. The streets are full of cars. He pulls off to the first on-ramp that he sees. He's going northbound on the southbound lane of 128, driving into oncoming traffic. Cars are weaving out of his way, beeping their horns at him. The first rest stop that he sees, he pulls into, and he's trying to make a tourniquet in his arm to stop the bleeding. He's barely conscious. Ambulances and police show up. He's got a tourniquet wrapped around his arm. He's telling the cops, I don't know who shot me. I don't know why anybody would want to shoot me. Yeah, okay, Punchy. So under heavy police guard, they got two police officers with pump shotguns in the back, drive him to Norfolk Hospital. He goes unconscious. When he wakes up, his right hand's gone, and must have been a very, very sad time. Like he said, he wasn't surprised that his right hand was gone because basically they blew most of his hand off when he was driving the car. But think about that, to wake up and your right hand is missing. Like, you do so much, especially if you're right-handed, which the majority of people are. You do so much with your right hand, and like, you take it for granted. And if you don't have it, like, I've broken my hand a few times, had a cast on, and I can't imagine what it would be like to not have your right hand. So at this point, Punchy has got a big piece of his jaw missing from the first attempt on his life, where they shot him with a birdshot shotgun in the face, which Raymond Patriarca, the New England crime boss, commented that if they used double lot instead of birdshot, they would have blew his whole head off. But that's, just had to throw that in there. So basically, at this point, Punchy's, he's a beaten man. He knows that he's being hunted and that his time is, he's basically a dead man walking. His time is very, very limited on this earth. His hair is, like, completely white. He's aged about 30 years in the past couple of years. So, he's been shot twice now on two separate occasions. His brother Bernie was killed 1961 on Halloween Day, shot right in the head in Charlestown Square in front of hundreds of witnesses, and nobody saw a thing. His brother Georgie is on the lam, and when he gets arrested, he's going to be charged with first-degree murder. He's never going to get out of jail. Now Punchy, he can't even drive a car. He doesn't have his right hand. He's just, the poor guy, he's just a beaten dog at this point. And they brought him to Mass General after to recuperate from the Norfolk Hospital, and he was waking up screaming and stuff in the night, and he obviously had PTSD from all the stuff that had been going on. But this is the 1960s. They didn't know what PTSD was. So this guy's having nightmares. He said, they're coming for me. He's worried about the next time because he knows it's not over. So after the second attempt, basically everybody in the Boston underworld was on the same page. Punchy needs to go. He needs to be finished off. It doesn't matter how it's done, but he needs to go. We need to end this gang war. This gang war is costing everybody money. The New England Mafia, the Italian Mafia is like, they're so frustrated how much heat this is causing for the police, how much money it's costing them from their rackets. They want this over with, So everybody's basically siding with Winter Hill now because they know that they're going to eventually win the war. But Punchy needs to be eliminated. He needs to be killed. Even if he's not a threat anymore, he needs to be killed. And then you have the two Hughes brothers, Connie and Steve, who are out there lurking in the shadows. And until they're gone, even though they're two guys against like a whole city, they're still very, very dangerous people. And until they're wiped off the face of the earth, there's going to be no peace. And everybody knows this. So basically the second hit was pulled off by Wimpy Bennett, Steve Flemmi, and Frank Slemmy, which are like the Roxbury crew. And Wimpy Bennett was the leader of this before his untimely demise. And he was in Patriarcha's pocket, A lot of people think that he used to get Patriarcha information on what was really going on in Boston, so he could get, because maybe if the Italians in Boston were trying to do stuff and not let Raymond know what they were doing to make extra money on the side, like Wimpy was basically his spy in Boston, and the Italian mafia didn't really like him that much because they knew that he was like that, that he was feeding Raymond information. So basically it was Wimpy Bennett and Frank Slemmy in the crash car that passed him. So that was the signal. It was like Steve Flemmi was perched in a tree with an M1 rifle with a sniper telescope on it, and the signal was when they see Punchy's car, they're gonna speed up and drive past it, and that's the signal that's the car to shoot. So Steve Flemmi's blasting him from the tree, just very, very sloppy, careless. It's the middle of the day. He could have hit another car. He could have hit pedestrians. I believe one of the houses on the street had a couple of deflected bullets that hit it. H. Paul Rico, who's like the most corrupt FBI agent in the world that wanted to see the McLaughlins killed more than anybody else, he came to Frank Slemmi's garage. He was like, that was really sloppy work, guys, And Frank told him, we need an address to see, we need to get him when he's coming out of his house. We need to get him before he gets into a vehicle. Because they've learned this lesson after two failed hits that you can't kill the guy if he's inside a car and you're outside of it. It's just way harder. So basically, I'm going to make a video later about the third hit, obviously. And at that point, they've learned their lesson about like what not to do. But this was just like very, very... if that's how it actually, the majority of books that I've read, that's how they say that this hit was carried out. And I can't imagine that in these days and times that we live in. Do you imagine just driving down the street in the middle of the day and all of a sudden, like, bullets are flying everywhere? This was like what it was like in Boston at this time. Like, people were just dying left and right. It was just a very dangerous place to be. It's a much different city today, and it's like, that's one of the main reasons why I'm making these videos, is just because Boston has changed so much, and it's just such a very wealthy, upscale city. But that's not what it used to be like. It was an industrial, backwater, really dirty, gritty city, you know what I mean? Until urban renewal in the 60s, they started knocking down a lot of the tenements and started rebuilding. But now you look at Boston today, and it's completely different. Like these tough neighborhoods like Charlestown and Southie, Somerville, they're selling condos for millions of dollars now, and what used to be like tenement buildings, you know what I mean? So it's a different world. But I've always been interested in these stories and these topics. I've read about every book there is to read about the Boston Mafia and the Boston Mob, and I don't know. I will definitely have more content coming. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and I will see you soon. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.